Hey everybody, it is time for Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit Fear, the 1996 Mark Wahlberg thriller. So, grab your dog whistle and hope for the best. The episode is about to begin.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And yes, we are talking about 1996's Fear, starring one of my biggest celebrity crushes.
Oh.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yes.
Thinking about Mark, I can't even focus.
We begin.
Oh, yes.
As we begin, always do.
As we always do. I'm just kidding. Brian.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with Fear?
So the first time I saw this movie was in a movie theater. I quickly want to say something, and I usually do this stuff at the end. This movie was made for $6.5 million. It made
$6.5 million. That's cheap. Huh?
It is cheap. Made $20.8 million, which is also surprising. I don't know. My memory. I think through this podcast, I've realized my memory is memory of I know. My memory has no memory of box office. If you had asked me how much Fear made in 1996, I would have said probably about 70, 80 million. It made 20.
Wow.
It barely made 21 million.
Wow.
I thought this was a hit. I guess it was not. Or I guess, I
think it's more of a video hit.
You're right. I think though, and I guess the way to look at it too is it made 3 times its budget. So in Hollywood's eyes, it's a hit. For what it needed to do, it did. So then I saw this in the movie theater, and I remember really having a problem with Mark Wahlberg's performance in the first 3/4 of the movie.
Uh-huh.
I felt that his little he had a lisp at times. I didn't believe his sweet-natured side, as I say that with a lisp. But then I thought the ending was so effing insane that I left the theater completely shaken, disturbed, and thinking holy shit, Mark Wahlberg is a psychopath. I mean, he can deliver.
Yes.
But I don't think he was, back then, I didn't find him as convincing in the sweeter moments as I did in the scary moments, and understanding that this was all an act anyway.
Of course. Yeah.
I remember liking Reese, but I remember loving Alyssa Milano. She really surprised me back then. That was my immediate takeaway. But I remember being I don't even know if I like that movie because that ending goes off the rails. And I was I don't even, I don't know. I don't know. And I think I probably have seen it once since 1996. Twice because I did a rewatch.
Right.
But really unsure of how to file that movie in my pop culture
Isn't that funny?
filing cabinet because it was such a fucked up, bizarro story.
Yes.
And how it went, But how about you?
So I saw this on video
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, and I remember finding the first part of it boring.
Okay.
I don't know. I just felt it was okay. And then I was completely disturbed by it. It was I think I only watched it the one time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm a huge Mark Wahlberg fan, but I think it was the scene where he basically picks up Alyssa Milano over his shoulder to go rape her.
I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. If you're hearing me laugh, I'm not laughing.
Rape is hilarious.
No, stop it,
Brian's
Christina.
point of view.
Stop it.
Hilarious.
Because I have the same note. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that scene is so upsetting and disturbing because up until that point, I mean, Alyssa Milano, she's
Who's
got
the
her,
boss?
She's got her problems, right? With this character, though.
Yeah.
This character.
Yeah.
I mean, she's obviously a bit of a flirt, maybe even a slut, but she's likable and she's fun and she's
the best
funny
friend.
and she's a friend, and to see her manhandled that way was really, really upsetting to me. I did not like it. And then every time I heard the word, fear, the movie, I thought that scene, I'm like, I don't think I can watch that again. Even though they don't actually you don't see the situation, but you know it's going to happen. And her face and just the whole thing, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, he grabs her hair and says, tell me you want me, tell me you want me. After she's gyrating on this other guy's lap while he's blowing, like, he's smoking a crack pipe.
Ugh,
he smacks her. He smacks her ass. I really have to say, I give Alyssa Milano a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Clearly she wanted to change her image from Who's the Boss and all that. Yeah. But, I mean, that's pretty brave. I don't know. I found, and even on rewatch, not to jump the gun, but even on rewatch, I was like, wow, I cannot believe she fucking agreed to do that scene. And it's like, Reese Witherspoon's watching through, like, behind the drapes or whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of wild. It's pretty nuts.
It's very wild. So that is the scene that prevented me from watching it again. So
not the dog head through the door.
No, all the other stuff's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. No, of course the dog head sucked too. But that was the one scene that always, like, it just made me so upset.
Yeah. This was written by Christopher Crowe, who wrote Last of the Mohicans in 1992, and directed by James Foley. Just a little note here that James Foley did At Close Range with Sean Penn. He did Who's That Girl with Madonna. Mm-hmm. He did After Dark, My Sweet, and Glenn Ross. He has made some pretty notable, serious films.
Yes.
So let's dive into now.
Okay, so now I watched this movie a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking forward to seeing it. And I felt like I could handle the scene.
Yeah.
Like I can do this. And kind of watching it, I noticed a few things that were annoying.
Tell me.
I did not like the father.
Why?
I felt like the father, I don't think he was likable. I just don't think he was a likable guy. He had this weird relationship with his daughter. He called her like a little nectarine or sugar plum or something weird. He just didn't seem like a real... I didn't feel like there was anything there. Like, I didn't feel like the relationship was there enough between him and his daughter.
But remember why.
Yes, I do understand why.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't like it. I was like... And then he's like off on a business trips and... I don't know. I didn't like it. He was
trying hard because he hadn't been part of her life for so long.
Yes, I know that.
Oh.
Well, you asked, why? And I said, yes, and now you just explained it, Mr. Mansplaining.
Oh my God. Christina, I'm also explaining for the listener who doesn't understand your ridiculous criticism. Okay?
I didn't think the acting was that great with him. And I also did not like... And this is something that I started recognizing it. And it's like one of those things where I'm thinking, I wish I didn't recognize it because that's not all I can hear.
Uh-oh.
Every sentence, Brian, he would say the name of the person, Brian. And every time, Brian, he would say anything about anything in the movie, Brian, he would say his freaking name, Brian. And it wasn't just him, but he did it the most.
Oh, Laura does it too. Laura is his girlfriend.
Yeah,
everything is Steven. She says Steven every single time. And only one time does she say Steve. Mm-hmm. She's like, Steve! When like they're banging down the door.
But the dialogue...
You're exactly right.
So
you would never forget their names.
Never.
I went back to these notes like a couple days later, and I'm like, and I didn't have to think. I was like, I was writing Nicole, David, Stephen, Laura, Toby.
Because they constantly said that. It was the weirdest script direction.
Margot.
Oh
my God.
It was bizarre.
It is. That's a really funny note, but it's totally true.
I'm not even kidding you. Almost every sentence had the name of the person they were speaking to. And oftentimes it was two people speaking.
Oh, 1,000%.
It wasn't even like we had to figure out who they were talking to.
So I don't want to spoil anything of how I felt about this movie, but I did have a little side drinking game going on. Where every time, so my big note, and once I noticed it, that's all I effing noticed.
The worst.
I wrote, is Laura is Laura's hip surgically glued to the counter? Every time they show Laura, she's standing at the kitchen counter chopping vegetables. I don't know what these people are doing. It could be like 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the morning. She's chopping vegetables. It's like anytime they show her, she's standing at the kitchen counter.
Well, there was a note that actress had recent hip surgery and needed to lean. No, I'm totally just kidding. That is funny. That is funny.
Yeah, she's making food. And then there's another time. So I kept counting the number of times she's at the counter, and then one scene, everything else is food, right? She's preparing food. There's one scene though where she's arranging roses. I'm like, she's at that counter 75% of her scenes. It's
weird.
So bizarre. She's always on the go, this girl. She's like in the garden, she's doing this. She is just a worker bee. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I did do a drinking game. So I have every time Laura's at a counter.
Yeah.
Every time Dad wears sunglasses Steve.
Oh,
Steven. Every time Steven wears sunglasses indoors, Steven.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Every time David, in his masterful way of changing a clock. My God.
Oh my God. I have it written down.
Twice.
What did I write? Oh my God, what did I write down? Oh my gosh. Oh, I wrote, again with the clock trick. So clever.
You know, there's a pattern here. Last week we talked about Superman.
My gosh.
Superman turning back time.
No, I know, right?
David is really the master.
David is the Superman.
Because there's only apparently one clock in this whole fucking house. You mean to tell me Nicole wears a watch, but her dad, who runs late for everything, doesn't wear a watch?
Oh my gosh, that was
He's
so
this big,
funny
high-powered architect.
And that's how he gets away with things, right? Like.
Oh my God, I know. And it's very effective. Also, the number of times Steven mentions Vancouver. Oh my God.
Oh God,
Vancouver.
Get it. Yep.
They said Vancouver like 85 times this movie.
Maybe you should move there.
And then anytime David, this is Steven, right? Steven mentions Vancouver. Anytime David kisses Nicole anywhere other than on her lips. Did you notice?
Yes.
I have to admit, that I cannot prove this. I tried to prove it. It has to be in Reese Witherspoon's contract. He kisses her forehead, her cheek, her ear, like he engulfs like the area between her eyes in one scene. I'm like, he's kissing her everywhere but on the lips. I feel like it's in her contract. I know she was 20. Funny. She was 20 when this was made, but there has to have been a point where she was like, enough with the kissing on the lips. I can't do it anymore because. It just got weirder and weirder where he was kissing her. Yeah. But, all right. So my first real note though.
Okay.
The family's a bit dramatic.
You think?
So what Steven said to Nicole, to his daughter, he was concerned with the way she was dressed. And, Laura said, I think she looks fine. She's dressed like a teenager. And, then Reese Witherspoon, Nicole, says, he says something, Steve and the dad says something, and she's like,
says, the clothes look like you wore when you were, the clothes look like what you wore when you were 12.
Oh, there you go. All right. But she says something along the lines of, I guess I'm the one who has to ask permission to breathe, right? Later on, Stephen, the father, says, let's see. Laura questions why Steven has to go to Vancouver, and he says, "Oh, sure. Then we'll all just starve to death." I'm like, well, no wonder where Nicole gets it from. Nicole gets it from him. And then Laura goes, "No one's starving, Steven." And it was only the two of them in the scene.
She's one of my favorite characters in this whole movie.
Laura. Yeah.
She was. I felt like she was the only real normal person aside from all the chopping of the vegetables. But I felt like she was just so rational that one line that she says went a little over the edge, but it wasn't necessarily untrue when she said, "Take off your makeup, you look like a slut." I'm like, ooh, that's a little harsh.
She'd been up all night.
But yes, she's at her wit's end.
Yeah.
I get where it came from. As a mom, I could see me saying something like that.
Yeah.
And she did say, "You look like a slut." She's not saying you're a slut.
Slut, right.
You look like a slut.
Yep.
So
I actually kind of loved, not that she said it. I did love this conversation between her and Steven when she's
after
like,
that,
I didn't say it. She's like, I didn't say that. I said it. She looked like.
Yes,
That was pretty smart.
conversation.
I like that. And I think that it was like realistic. He didn't like freak the hell out. He's like, is that what you called her, a slut? Like, you get a sense of their relationship. I mean, I don't know.
It was kind of a realistic relationship. Honestly, it
real.
wasn't too sticky sweet. It wasn't like it was. Even some troubles.
Even the part when Toby calls him dad, he's like, and then he agreed to do something. He's like,
he's like,
call me dad. I feel like the script is a little more thoughtful than the typical stalker boyfriend script.
Like a stepmom type of thing. Yes.
And only one writer. Look
at that.
Nicely done, Christopher Crowe. So, okay, how about this? Christina, let's say you and I are at a club.
Yes.
A nightclub, and we're dancing. I have seen a gentleman caller, and I'm off across the room dancing. You are standing in the corner, just observing the scenes.
Yep.
Suddenly, and without warning, a giant riot breaks out. Things are falling everywhere. People are being punched in the face. Someone pulls a knife. There's a fire. I'm across the room in the middle of the melee. Do you, A, leave me to die?
Yes.
Margot is in the middle.
She's in the smack dab
in the middle of everything.
She probably caused it. Let's be real. Yes, I have that note as well. I said she did.
Nicole ditches her.
I said she sure ditched Margot fast enough as someone she just met. I think that they said 2 words together, right?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. Yes, I thought that same thing. And then they all end up on the roof. And Margot's like, bye.
Ah!
So she's ditching her now. Again, like, oh my gosh.
Good friends.
Yeah.
And then Margot, later in the movie, Margot screams, "You're my only friend, my best friend. My only friend." Yeah. I wonder why.
Right.
Although, classic, that is such good dialogue. When Nicole and Gary are in the cafeteria, Margot has not come to school today because she's busy getting sexually assaulted and getting crack smoke blown in her face.
Right.
And Gary says, "Oh, she wasn't in the class, so Margot I called Margot and Margot said she was sick." And Nicole says, "At least she's honest."
Oh, yeah, that was
God, that was so good.
That was good.
But I did find that questionable. Like, she saw what was going on. She saw her boyfriend grab her hair. Why did she think Margot was totally into it?
I thought that
That's
too.
That's not right.
I thought that too. Maybe she was just upset that she didn't tell her about her. I don't know.
Unless you couldn't hear. Unless you couldn't hear what was being said.
I couldn't hear a lot of what's happening. I could tell what was happening.
Okay. David says it's not her fault. So he's talking about the car, and he says it's not her fault they didn't put her together right. I remember that line the first time I saw this movie, thinking like, oh, I wonder if he was a product of like incest or something. Mm-hmm. So I did some digging.
Oh.
Are you ready for the original draft of the script?
Yes, please.
Steve, the dad, was actually the one who got David's mother pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
He got her drunk. He raped her. Well, she was under the influence.
Okay,
they went to college
kind of
together.
A date rape.
Date rape.
Thing, yeah.
College. They were in college. Got her drunk. And the family made the mother give him away. And when David became old enough, he did all of his research and tracked down this guy and was determined to ruin his family. So it was much more of a deliberate revenge story on David's part.
Which makes a little bit more sense.
Yep.
But then, I mean, would he have sex with the sister?
Well, he's crazy.
I mean, he is crazy.
Yeah. And I said, and I wrote, but ew, half brother and sister. Yeah. But it does tie into the car comment that he was a product of rape. Mm-hmm. So, but like, I don't know if that would have been a better story. I think that the whole movie's kind of bonkers, but like,
it would have been. Like,
because it's a true revenge.
There was a trigger. I wish there was some sort of a trigger that made him, like, obviously he's mentally disturbed. But if there was some sort of a trigger that made him, like, just snap and go after this family. And in a way, kind of, it was when he And Stephen went into the house and like destroyed the house, which was unnecessary. I get that part.
Well, remember though,
just going after his daughter, like it would have been.
But no, remember David destroyed his car. He destroyed his car. That was before. That's why he said, Andy, I gotta borrow your car. He used the car, and he said the guy's name. I just realized that. And he drove the car like a psychopath to that house, and he destroyed the house. So people forget that part. It's like, oh, eye for an eye, eye for an eye. It's like, wait a minute. But they don't know that David fucked his car up. I mean, he demolished his car. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. I forgot about that part, too.
But all that to say... I forget. Oh, the revenge thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, so when they read the script, they the director, I believe it was James Foley, that wanted to make it more of like a dad's worst nightmare kind of thing. Because like dad's the cliche of the dad going, "You lay a hand on my daughter and I'll kill you."
Right.
And then it actually all boils down. But the challenge is this guy's a psychopath and strong and has a gang of support. Mm-hmm. David says the line wrong. Did you catch this one?
Oh, I think I did. It. Wait, where is it?
If something...
I wrote it down somewhere.
Yeah. If something sounds too good to be true...
Yeah, I know I wrote it down. Where is it?
It's the same conversation as the car. Like, it's not her fault they didn't put it together right.
I know I wrote it down. Where did I do it?
Can I just say it?
Yeah, just say it.
If something sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. That's not how it goes.
That is not how it goes. I know I wrote it down somewhere.
It's like then it probably is.
Oh, it's on the other
You wrote
page.
it, okay.
Yeah. Yes, and I had to rewind it too. I'm like, did he just say that wrong?
He said it wrong.
And he did. Yes.
He left it in.
All right. Well, maybe that's the problem because he starts with I was taught. I was taught if something seems too good to be true, it probably isn't. So maybe that's the problem. Yeah. He was taught that way. What'd you think of the roller coaster ride?
I loved it then. I loved it now.
I know, me too.
Someone wrote, I didn't rewind it to rewatch it, but that I guess her fingernails changed.
Oh, really?
Sorry, it's like a continuity issue.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, I guess, and when she has her fingernails are like white and done, the other ones they're not.
That's really funny.
But I think that's what made this movie.
Yeah.
I think
people
like that
always talk about that roller coaster.
Everyone wanted to be fingered by Marky Mark on that roller coaster. Yeah, guys and girls.
Or just anybody on a roller coaster. Is that just me?
When did your obsession start with Marky Mark? Like during the Calvin Klein stuff?
A long time ago, yeah.
Or Good Vibrations?
It was probably... Well, I didn't really love him in Good Vibrations because I felt like he was too bulky.
Okay.
But like, I mean, what did he do right after that?
The Calvin Klein stuff, I think, was right after. Was right after that.
What was that?
The Calvin Klein.
Oh, yeah.
But then he also did. This is his third movie. He did Renaissance Man, which is a Penny Marshall movie. I don't remember it. And then he did Basketball Diaries.
Oh, I don't know.
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't know. I didn't see that one either. But I don't know. I just always thought he was so adorable and just really hot.
But I will say, so that song is Wild Horses by the Sundays. It's obviously a Rolling Stone cover. And they play it twice. I forgot that they did that. And then Come Down by Bush. I love that song too.
Yeah, it's a pretty good soundtrack. Yeah.
But did you notice they had a Marky Mark song in the movie?
Oh, they did?
They did.
I never noticed it. That's really funny.
It's in the credits too. It was pretty funny. Oh God. So I will say, as a big plus, I feel like, am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. A big plus was, and it's unfortunate, but it's like Gary, Nicole's friend, may or may not be gay, probably gay, right?
Seems gay.
Yeah, and David kicks the living shit out of him.
Ugh.
But then Nicole goes to, and I was so glad she tried to stop him. And then he whacks her to the ground. I was weary about that because I'm like, oh shit. But clearly she's still with him, right? Because I'm trying to remember what happens. And I'm like, oh my God, she actually does break up with him. Like,
yes.
She does. And I credit the screenplay and Reese Witherspoon's acting.
Yes.
Because She behaves as you always want these women in Jeopardy movies to behave.
Mm-hmm.
Because often what happens is they send roses, which he does.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and they cry for a night.
I'm so sorry.
And then he shows up at the doorstep and then she lets them in and they talk. That's not what happens here.
No.
He starts showing up at school. She gives a blood-curdling scream saying,
Yes.
help me, please. Everyone turns and looks. The father gets involved. He has security at the school looking out for him, although they suck because he just fucking walks right up to the school. Then there's another scene where, after he knocks her to the ground, she stands up and she screams, help us. And I think a weaker movie, a weaker screenplay, she just would have like started crying, and then the guy would have like said, "Listen, baby, I'm so sorry," and she would have jumped in the car with him and driven away. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie.
I was too. I thought it was great the way they portrayed her.
Yeah, she's stronger than the average.
Very strong and very
character in this story.
But you could tell she was still torn about it too. Like it was very realistic.
Yeah.
I think it was very realistic the way they did that.
You hope. Well, I have not known too many people in abusive relationships, thank God, or that are at least open about it, right? So you hope it's a realistic behavior.
Right.
And you hope it's not women in these situations or men in these situations that are like constantly making excuses for them. Like, in fact, she really only goes back to David because the father fucks up and gets overly involved.
Yes.
And it's very Ariel from The Little Mermaid all over again.
Yep.
But
very teenage girl.
did you notice, and it's so petty, and I'm going to say it anyway, Nicole and David have the same handwriting. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Guys, so I think Fear is... I did rent it from the library. Did you?
I did. Oh, wait. Did I?
I had to get it from the library.
I think I did. Yes. Yeah.
So, when you rewatch this, try and pay attention to the notes that they leave, because Nicole's handwriting is exactly the same as David's handwriting that he left on the dad's car. It's exactly the same handwriting. It's pretty
Maybe
funny.
They should add a different person.
Good.
Wait, hold on. Let me see what's happening here in my notes, because I haven't really looked at many. So this house of the gang. I'm like, what is this house that they live in?
It's the father's house, but he's
and what is with all the spray paint? Did you see, like, in every room there's like graffiti, and it's not even like good graffiti. Yeah. It's just spray paint. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then there's a picture of him on the wall. Like, is that a mugshot? And why does he have it up on the wall? Like, why would he put a picture of himself on the wall? It's so funny.
What I thought is, remember, Mark Wahlberg was arrested. He was blind. Didn't he blind somebody in a fight? Oh, God. So, all right. Allegedly, just Google it. But I actually wondered if it was his own, maybe it was his own mugshot.
It might have been. Yeah. So I think it's pretty common knowledge that he had a rough upbringing. He's actually from this area. His family lived right around the corner from Matt's family.
Do you know my Marky Mark story? Donnie Wahlberg story?
I don't know.
So get this. So I had my license for a whopping... That's a lie. I had my license for a bit. I had a new car. It's my first car.
Start off the story with a lie.
My first car was an Oldsmobile Omega. Mm-hmm. Then, a year later, it completely died. And I got a Pontiac Sunbird. It was a sedan, 4 doors. And my sister, Lee, and her friend Leah, and her friend Michelle were like, Brian, we will fill your gas tank. We just found out where Donnie Wahlberg lives. Oh. I'm like, what? I'm like, fill my gas tank. We're on an adventure. We drive to Braintree, Massachusetts, and sure enough, we drive. And I am not kidding you. We pull up. There is a gate. It's not a big house. It's a tall house. Yeah. It's like 3 floors, but it's not a mansion by any stretch. It's just a tall house.
You would never
You would never
think you'd never notice it.
You would never think that New Kids on the Block built this house. Right. Do you know what I mean? So it's Donnie Wahlberg's house, and there's a car parked in front, and I'm very aware of this car that's parked in front, because I'm like, it's going to be a security guard, and I know I'm in trouble right now. So we pull up, and we're just staring at the house. And again, gated. It's a gated house. We're not getting anywhere near it. And I swear to God, Donnie Wahlberg is getting out of a car and going into the house. My sister and Leah are screaming their heads off. Donnie, Donnie. He's not even looking, right? Suddenly, the car that's in front of the house drives up in front of us. Rolls in the window. Super nice, friendly-looking guy. And the guy is like, probably looks like a... only because... Well, I don't want to ruin anything, but he kind of looks like, say, Ed Asner with glasses. But, like, friendly, jovial.
Yeah.
He goes, hey. I'm like, hi. He's like, where are you folks from? And I'm like, Brockton. He goes, then get the fuck out of here. I was like, holy shit.
Holy shit.
I slammed on the gas. I probably burst into tears. I'm flying down the street, and I slam on my brakes because two motorcycles cut me off turning a left.
Oh my God.
Mark Wahlberg
Oh my God.
was on the first motorcycle, and this big beefy guy was in the motorcycle behind him. And I'm like, oh my God. I turn around, my car door's open. Michelle is already running down the street after them.
What?
She collapses on the street crying. All the girls are crying. Terry, Leah, Michelle, they're all crying. That was Mark Wahlberg! Oh my God! I don't know. At this point, I don't even think... He wasn't even Marky Mark at this point. They just knew. It's like, you know that thing when you're obsessed?
Yes.
You suddenly just know their whole family?
Yeah.
So I think he was maybe just getting started, but they knew who Mark Wahlberg was. They didn't say it was Marky Mark. That I vividly remember.
Right.
And so... But that was the Mark that I almost ran. I almost hit him with my car. And he probably would have been fine, and then he probably would have punched me in the eye, and I probably would have had an issue. Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, going back to. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
huge,
totally...
huge segue.
Fine. No, that's a good segue. No, it was a good
You're
story.
right. You're right. He had. I don't know necessarily. Rough upbringing almost points to the parents. I think he got mixed up.
He got messed
trouble.
up. Yeah. So he had a rough past. Is basically.
Yeah.
He was involved in, and this is all stuff that he has said on the record. It's not something that, whatever, that I know personally from conversations with him or anything.
Sweet Jesus.
But no, because he grew up in Dorchester, and then he moved to Braintree. They moved to Braintree. Right. But, he had some troubles with the law.
Yeah.
Let's just say it that way, right? And what's funny is, so he credits his turnaround to, a friend, a priest, I believe, from the Catholic Church, and he credits him with turning his life around.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, literally like 2 days ago, Emily she was sitting next to me doing watching some videos or whatever, and there was some video of Mark talking something religious. I don't know what it was, but Emily's like, who is that? And I'm like, that's Mark Wahlberg, and she's like, oh. She goes, isn't this kind of weird that he's doing this? And I'm like, and I told him that same exact story. I'm like, no, actually, he had, a rough time of it, and this priest turned his life around, so he's been religious ever since.
Yeah.
So,
well, anyway. I think he's promoting like an app, right? It's like a Christianity app.
I think that's what he was probably. Yeah, that's probably what she was showing me.
Yeah. And remember he did an interview with GQ. And I think I gave it to you because you're obsessed. Mm. And he has a tattoo of rosary beads. But anytime he's in a movie, they either digitally remove it or they put makeup on it. And I was like, and I remember saying to you, would you, it's such a weird thing. And I think it gets even weirder the more time goes on. What is, this has nothing to do with the movie. Christina, say you're single.
Okay.
You're a single gal, you meet this guy at a bar, and you decide tonight is the night. Mm-hmm. You bring him home with you, or you go to his house. Maybe you bring him home, and he takes his shirt off. Which is more disconcerting, or which would give you more pause? A giant crucifix tattoo, or a giant American flag tattoo?
Oh, no. Honestly,
do both give you pause?
They both give me pause. I mean, I think anybody
it's the extreme.
Such the extreme stance as to brand their body with something so symbolic, I think would turn me off. Yeah. I'm all for people being religious. That's great. I'm all for people being patriotic. That's right. That's fine. Yeah. All of it is good. But to be so extreme as to put that on their chest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing even to put it on their shoulder would be. I wouldn't worry that much about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like smack dab in the middle of the chest is really saying something.
I think of like Cape Fear.
Yes.
Robert De Niro, and I think he has a giant crucifix on his back, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just.
I haven't seen that in a really long time, but yeah,
middle of your
it's the
body
big statement, like you're saying, that it's these really, like, major symbols and what they stand for. But when you get it that big and that prominent, there's the extremes of what those symbols can stand for, and that can be problematic.
So yes, that would be the last night we would be together.
But I. Very Blanche Devereaux of you. Just do it once, just to make sure.
Just the one.
Just the one time. But yeah, it's going back to Mark Wahlberg though. But he does. He had, at least back in I think the late '90s, he had a rosary bead tattoo around his around his neck. So all that to say,
just since we're talking about Mark, have you ever seen Date Night with him in it? It's very underrated. It's Steve Carell
and Tina Fey.
Tina Fey, and Mark is in it.
I've seen it. I saw it once.
I remember seeing it and not expecting much.
Yeah.
And I think Matt and I, it's probably one of our favorite movies that we've watched together. Just because I just think it's silly and I just love his part in it.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, if you hadn't seen it, you should watch it.
Did you ever see? I know, never really jumped
in.
The
rest
Nothing
of the story isn't great, but it's fine. It's good. It's good.
Tell me you saw Game Night with Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams.
No.
Put that on your list immediately. Oh, it's so damn fun. You will love it.
Is it recent?
Game Night. It's relatively recent. Last 5 years, 6 years.
Okay.
Okay. Getting back to the movie. I know.
Back to
little
our
segue.
podcast.
But this is the Mark Wahlberg movie. And this kind of broke him through. It's his first leading role.
Yeah.
Okay. Dad, so I think you mentioned the acting of Steven, the dad.
Yes, I didn't like
Here's when it bothered me. Nicole, get me a Coke. Like, so David yells to Nicole to get him a Coke. The father's face is like, okay, sweetie. Like, it's a bit telegraphed. It's a bit too much. He makes the same damn face when he finds the condom.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
Yeah. I wasn't.
It's not subtle. It's not subtle.
I did like this line that Reese said to Dad. This may come as a shock to you, but every move I make doesn't have to do with you. Turns out, I'm living my own life. Love that.
Did he smack her?
He should have.
The swimming pool.
Way to fuck it up, Steve. That's what I said.
Well, how about the swimming pool?
Oh my God.
That was a lot. When he grabs Laura and throws her in the pool, and she's all giggly and
Well, and the whole making eye contact, he's feeling up his daughter. Come on.
That's not okay. Let's.
It's sometimes. This is a Margot line. Sometimes it's just their asshole way of showing they love you. When she was talking about getting hit.
See, she's the typical character in that kind of a movie.
Yes.
The one who's like, he just loves me so much.
And how about this nice line that she says, little Margot,
Tell me.
to the young boy.
Oh, boy.
I don't know how old.
Toby.
I don't know how old Toby was, but
you must have missed his name being
8,
said a couple
9,
times.
10, something like that.
Oh, is he even 8? Yeah.
Hey, Toby, when are you going to grow up so I can ravage you? Ew! He's a young child, Margot.
It's like, Margot, you've been ravaged enough, girl.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
And I just... good.
No, go ahead.
My next note is what you were talking about. I wrote, good God, Alyssa Milano, a crack pipe, Marky Mark spanking and grabbing your ass. Great performance.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from her, for sure. I did find it funny that it took so long for Steven to do the background check. It took him
does it
page
take...
2 of my notes.
But did it just take longer back then? I think
that's when he picked up the phone call to say, I want the background check. It's page 2 of my note. After he hit her.
How old is David?
I know.
20-something.
He's got to be 20-something.
She's 16? How old is she? I'm getting confused with Clueless.
I think she... Oh, yeah, that's right.
She can drive. Wait, can she? She can drive.
I think I said it somewhere.
And Alyssa Milano's
like
character
16.
is driving. She's 16 or 17.
Yeah, somewhere on there. Yeah.
So.
And how about when he starts pounding his chest to get like a
the bruises?
Bruise.
Yeah.
That was creepy. Really scary.
Yep. Let's see.
So what does he do? Wait.
David yelling. Oh yeah. So another good one.
Oh. Go on. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So the whole scene. I didn't love the car chase. I thought that was a bit ridiculous. But when David stops Margot in the car.
Oh God.
That acting. I'm telling you right now. I think that acting is A+ on both of them.
I agree.
Mark Wahlberg and Alyssa Milano, when he pulls the car over and he grabs her, she is terrified. He's screaming at her, "You fucking lying whore!" And the last thing he says to her is, "You liked it." Oh. And she is crying, shaken, upset. I think the acting is phenomenal in that scene.
So good. Yeah, that was a very,
very
very powerful scene.
Yeah.
I agree. I did say, going back to Margot, I said what he does to Margot was horrible, but wouldn't Reese, Nicole, try to help her friend? Or what do you think was happening there? Because you said and she ends up blaming her.
Yeah.
And, all that. But okay, so if it's you and I, and you're in the house, and I'm watching someone throw you over his shoulder.
Yeah, let it happen.
I
mean, call 911.
But I would have tried to help her somehow. I mean, I don't know what she would have been able to do, but maybe even call somebody or something. It just seems like
the more we're talking about this, it is odd she wouldn't just call the cops.
Right.
Then the movie would have ended, though, right?
Well, yeah.
But I mean, but it's true. I don't know what made her think Margot is into that. Mark Wahlberg is pulling her head back.
Yes, she shouldn't have seen that part. I think she should have seen her maybe with him.
Getting out of the bed.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. But it's clearly a rape situation.
Yeah.
So for her to think that she was enjoying it that was just unrealistic to me.
Yep.
I did say no cell phones make it just so much better. I was thinking about horror movies today. I mean, everybody has a cell phone and they have to work that hot somehow. And the battery's dead.
Yeah.
And it's just dumb.
Yeah.
But the fact that these people did not have any cell phones, they just had to cut the phone line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. No communication to the world at all. It's what? That's very cool. Very cool.
I did love when Nicole says, "I'm not interested in understanding you, David."
Oh,
Ooh,
that's a good one.
Reese is good in this.
She's good. They're all good except for the father. I really just didn't like the father.
I think he had kind of a not great role. I don't think, some of the writing is not quite on his side. So he carves Nicole forever, and I think this is a middle-aged lens thing. I think it would have been so much cooler without the forever. I did kind of laugh. I was I forgot that it said the number 4 and then EVA.
Yeah, so dumb.
It's pretty dumb. But I like that he carved Nicole into it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I said that already. Good that Dad told school security about David.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, just Reese screaming in the lunchroom and screaming in the in the mall bathroom. That was the other thing.
Oh,
when he violates her in the bathroom stall.
Yes.
And she does a blood-curdling scream saying, "Please help." And again, I credit the movie for not making her this wimp. Where she internalizes everything, doesn't tell. I mean, she's really defending herself as much as she can. She's yelling for help. This is a smart kid.
Yes.
Do you have anything else? Because all my next notes are all about the ending.
Well, my first note about the ending is basically, first of all, he's shut off all the lights so they don't know. Obviously, Dog's head is the one that starts it.
Oh my God,
which was terrible. And I'm that they have a lot of lights. It took them 5 minutes of running around the house, shutting off all the lights. Like, why do you have all those lights on? First of all,
That's fair.
But there was a lot of lights to turn off. But how terrifying that whole ending is like one thing after another. Like, I was on the edge of my seat, and this gang is so relentless and so scary.
You said the word.
And the banging.
Oh my God, Christina.
The banging.
It's really fucking
that
scary.
Was so
because
scary.
I think for me, it's because they're just human.
Yes.
They're just human people. Like,
right.
They're not Michael Myers. They're not Jason Voorhees. Which is why I think a big negative is just the beheading of the dog.
Yeah.
I just can't picture any of these guys.
I don't know
being
why
that
they had to
brutal.
do that. Yeah.
Like, they could have just I could see them. I don't know. Throwing the dog in the water. I don't know. But not chopping the dog's head off.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
a bit much. And to start out. And I think, and then from that point on, it's like, holy shit. And that you realize, like, oh my God, like, what is going to happen right now? Like, it is still fucked up and so terrifying.
It is very fucked up. Very terrifying.
Because, they're all crackheads.
Oh, yeah,
they have
souped up on something.
Yep, they have no sense of right and wrong, no sense of judgment. And only David is the quote-unquote sober one, but he's insane and hyper-violent anyway. He just killed Gary in the woods.
Yes, he did. He killed Gary, and then he killed a cop.
Yep.
He killed a cop. So my big question here is, why wouldn't he just kill the mom and dad?
So that's a similar note. Yeah. He wanted to kill the dad in front of Nicole.
Yeah, he could have killed the mom.
Right.
Could have killed the kid.
Yeah.
There's no sense of I shouldn't do this, because he's already killed other people.
Also too, it's like, why even put tape on their mouths? They're a million miles from nowhere. They're on the water.
Yeah.
So we can
action packed.
Gary gets killed. The dog gets beheaded. Laura puts a drill through someone's hand.
God. Toby
runs someone over. Margot gets the shit smacked out of her against a wall. Nicole stabs David with a peace pipe they won at the carnival. Nicole stabs a man with an umbrella. I did write, Steve totally cheaped out on the windows upstairs.
Yeah, kidding, right? It's supposed to be this fortress.
Downstairs, they cannot break through the glass with a boulder.
Right.
They're trying like hell to break the glass. They can't do it. Upstairs, Reese Witherspoon takes in a little tiny umbrella. It goes, ding, boink. But, P.S., Toby murders someone.
Yes.
Toby the child kills someone.
Yep.
With the car.
Yep.
That's insane to me.
I know. We're all going to need some major family therapy.
Toby has killed exactly 2 people less than David. And 2 people less than his dad.
Right?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So funny. Honestly, I do not have any other notes.
Oh shit. Okay, so I just wrote the movie just so then
it just ends. Is that what you just said?
Is so fucked up to me.
Yeah.
So basically it ends, and hopefully you're not listening to this episode without seeing the movie, but yeah, honestly, the dad takes Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, throws him through a window, and he goes flying so far, splats on a rock. The family all gets together, which I don't even know how Alyssa Milano is able to stand up after getting beaten that way. And then they hug, the sun comes out, and the credits roll. That's how it ends.
Yep. Happily ever after.
It's so insane.
I don't know where they're going to live now.
I do remember...
Maybe Vancouver.
The name of the Mark Wahlberg song is The Illest, by the way, if anyone's keeping track. Okay. And I wrote this note. I remember the anxiety I felt when Nicole says, Dad, David has the code. and you see Steven running, and it's like a fucking nightmare. It's like a nightmare when you can't
so
run.
Good.
It's like Steven, and I will say good acting on Steven's part.
Yes.
William Peterson, I think is his name. He's like, it's like running in a dream. Like you're stilted and you're trying to run, but you can't run fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
That was terrifying.
Okay, here we go. So the budget again, $6.5 million. The box office was 20.8. This is Mark Wahlberg's third movie. Liv Tyler turned it down.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, she would be good in it.
The original title, super weird. The original title, No Fear. I don't quite get that.
Huh.
I
always thought the title was a little bit weak.
Yeah, it's pretty weak.
Yeah.
Fear. And then otherwise, Christina, I have a match game.
I also have a match game. So did you like it more or less?
Oh, shit, I didn't even say... Oh, I didn't even write it down.
Do you have to write it down?
Well, no, because sometimes my notes
know?
are fresh. Christina, don't. My notes are fresher.
So close your eyes, Brian.
I'm going to be really honest. I think a little less, but just a little. That ending is so jolting, but I don't know if it's really good. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so scary and so crazy. I just don't know if it belongs in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, yeah, just a... I don't know if I mean that. About the same or a little less. I don't know.
I think I liked it a little bit more.
Okay.
Because my memory of it was truly just basically that one scene. And the rest of it was sort of like, I don't know, like a little flat.
Okay.
Like leading up to it was flat. And then the end part was exciting, but it seemed a bit generic from the first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But watching it again... I appreciated the acting. I appreciated Alyssa Milano, Reese Witherspoon, like their acting. Mark Wahlberg, of course. I appreciated the character of Reese Witherspoon. You know, Nicole's like real character of it. Like I appreciated a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And even the end was just so action packed that I truly couldn't remember how they were going to
get out of it. Yeah.
Like I'm like, how do they get out of this thing? There's like all these crazy people against them. Yeah. And so I was very entertained. Yeah. So I think, I mean, again, lots of little flaws with the dialogues and things like that and silliness. But I do think I liked it more than I did the first time. Yeah, and I think, so I think I'll say the same now that we're talking it through. I think, I agree. The acting is much stronger than I remembered. And I really have to say, I just like that Nicole's character was smart. And I would argue she's much smarter than the dad. Oh, yes. Yeah. And so to that regard, I think I liked it about probably about the same. Mm-hmm. So do you want me to go with my match game? Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot we did match games. So David, just really quick, though. David's body count. He killed Gary. He killed the cop? He killed the cop, yeah. He killed the cop, or did the other guy kill the cop? No, he killed the cop. Okay, and then he killed his friend. Because he was ready to, big surprise, rape Nicole. And he blew the guy's brains out. And he killed the dog. Yeah. All right, so here is my question. David. My foot. David is so jealous. How jealous is he? Thank you for asking. Well... He even got mad when the blank would come to the house. Ding. Ding. All right, David is so jealous. He even got mad when the blank would come to the house. The mailman. Yay! Yay! I was thinking Paperboy, only because like the visual of like a young, like an 11-year-old kid coming to the door would be funny. Yeah. I love it. All right. Yours. I also have a match game. Okay. And similar, but not the same. All right. David was a very evil man. How evil was he? He was so evil. Oh, God. That he made blank look like Mother Teresa. Wait, you did this before. I did? Did you do that with, Oh, shit. Was doing it again. All right, fine. Wow. I mean, it's been like 4 years. I can't expect you to remember what I've done for 4 years. I'm torn between three people. All right. This is what I'm going with. David is so evil.
How evil is he?
He made blank look like Mother Teresa.
Freddy Krueger?
Hitler.
And I think you wrote that last time.
Maybe I did. Maybe I'm consistent.
I didn't know you were going with a real person. I guess I should have thought of that with Mother Teresa. All right. Well, visit your local library and rent Fear. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.